Welcome to My on Mondays, an explorative approach to the possessive my through narratives, art, and sound. Each Monday brings a new creation and unique perspective. My on Mondays is brought to you by MING Studios, a contemporary art space and international artist residency program dedicated to the exhibition, experience, and exploration of arts and culture. Along with exhibiting artists from around the world, MING also serves the community by hosting innovative programs including performances, workshops, screenings, readings, artist talks, and other cultural activities. For more information, or if you'd like to participate in My on Mondays, you can visit our website at mingstudios.org. Good morning and welcome to the 74th episode of My on Mondays. In 1907, Ernest Henry Shackleton set off as leader of the 2-year British Antarctic Expedition. This was his second attempt at reaching the South Pole. Unfortunately, because of ice, they were unable to reach their intended base site of Edward VII Peninsula. Instead, traveling by sledge, they eventually reached within 97 nautical miles of the South Pole. The second of 4 attempts, this was Shackleton's most successful expedition. Victoria Land Plateau was claimed for the British Crown, and their party was the first to ascend Mount Erebus. Despite their success, when the sledging party returned to base camp in February of 1909, they found themselves stranded as their ship, the Nimrod, had set sail 2 days earlier. Perhaps they had been presumed dead. But setting fire to the camp to signal the ship, luckily Shackleton and his party were retrieved 2 days later. Returning to England, Shackleton, an Anglo-Irishman born in County Kildare, was knighted and made a commander of the Royal Victorian Order. Sadly, his last 2 expeditions proved disastrous. In the third, his ship, the Endurance, was trapped in ice for 10 months before eventually being crushed. The expedition members then drifted on ice floes before finally escaping in boats to Elephant Island in the South Shetlands. They survived on seal meat, penguins, and their dogs before Shackleton and 5 others sailed to South Georgia in a whaleboat to seek aid, eventually rescuing them all. He made one more attempt in 1921, but unfortunately died in South Georgia at the outset of his journey. It's believed to be because of the physical and mental toll of his previous attempts. The recording we're sharing with you today, titled My South Polar Expedition, was made on March 30th, 1910, after the return from his second expedition. It's an interesting record of that time period. We hope you enjoy it.
Main results of the British Antarctic Expedition of 1907 under my command are as follows. We reached a point within 97 geographical miles of the South Pole. The only thing that stopped us from reaching the actual point was the lack of 50 pounds of food. Another party reached for the first time the South Magnetic Pole. Another party reached the summit of a great active volcano, Mount Erebus. We made many interesting geological and scientific discoveries and had many narrow escapes throughout the whole time. A typical narrow escape was when we were going up the great glacier towards the pole. We were marching along, 3 of us harnessed to one sledge in very bad light. Our last pony was being led by another man with 500 pounds of stores. All of a sudden, we heard a shout of help from the man behind. We looked round and saw him supporting himself by his elbows on the edge of a chasm. There was no sign of the pony, and the sledge was jammed with its bow in the crevasse. We rushed back and helped the man out, and then hauled the sledge out. Then we lay down to have a look, but nothing but a black gulf lay below. The pony may have fallen 1,000 or 1,500 feet. Anyhow, he'd gone. What had happened was this. We, the first 3, with our weight distributed, crossed in safety, in the bad light, the bridge over an unseen chasm. The weight of the pony following was too much. It crashed through, but the swingle tree of the sled snapped, and that saved the sled. The man leading the pony said that he just felt a rushing sort of wind. The rope was torn out of his hand. He flung himself forward and thus escaped. After this, we 4 men had 1,000 pounds to pull, and we were unable to pull the whole load at once, so we had to relay. That is, we hauled half our load for a mile, then we walked back a mile, and then we hauled the other half up. So for every mile we gained to the south, we had to cover 3 to do it. And slowly we arose up the largest and the longest glacier in the world, some days spending 12 hours doing 3 miles, other times spending nearly half the day hauling each sledge up by means of the alpine rope. And thus we went along, and thus we returned, having done a work that has resulted in great advantage to science, and for the first time returning without the loss of a single human life. And throughout all this, I was helped by a party of men who were regardless of themselves and only thinking of the good of the expedition. I, Ernest Shackleton, have today, March the 30th, dictated this record.
We're so glad you joined us today. We look forward to bringing you more episodes in the Mondays to come.